We are the promised people. We are the people who were promised for this promised land. Everybody worldwide. We are the promised people. We are the people. Yes, so welcome to the promised land.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back for our, we're already at episode 9. It seems like it's been a flash of the eye, but we've covered so much ground so far. You should see the notes that we take in between weeks and how many incredible topics there are and how many things we want to get to. We'll certainly never run out of topics, ideas, and places to travel with you, but we're also practicing this, sort of seeing what's the hot topic for us in the moment, or for the community at large, and things that we're noticing, and kind of go with the energy in that sense. And one of the things that, among countless other things, one of the things that I've really been noticing in the last few weeks especially, is this sort of increasing tension in the field. There's a lot more of a sense of, I guess you could call it a sort of panicky, worried, stressed, anxiety, increased anxieties in people that I talk to, clients that I speak to. The general feeling, I think, is one of things are intensifying and dismantling and deconstructing in ways that kind of, we just don't know, if we've already lost control of this ship and it's just a one-way street to total meltdown. And I think that that's more than ever, that's a kind of really reasonable concern to have, just in terms of what's going on the global scale and what's going on here at home. We happen to be in the United States. Of course, we think of the United States as a really good lab for the whole world. As I've said in previous episodes, in like 1776 now, I've said that America, the United States of America, the land of the free, the we the people, these principles don't belong solely to the United States. It belongs to the people. The freedom belongs to the people.
All the people.
What's that? All the people, all the nations, all beings want to be free. And of course, that's the long-term endeavor of humanity. I mean, what is the ultimate form of freedom? The way I see it is freedom from suffering, freedom from, being the feeling of being stuck, of lacking agency in yourself, the sense of being disconnected from nature, from others, from source, or whatever you might want to call her. The infinite, we're feeling, I think that there's a sort of normalized sense of forlornness. I think that probably one of the most universal deep down issues in people is probably some form of abandonment, a sense of, being in a way sort of helpless and left alone on this planet, and we're here just trying to figure it out, and who's in charge, and it's all getting crazy, and all of these opinions are clashing, and everybody has their worldview, and everybody's entitled to have their worldview, but what do I believe, and what's real? And there's a lot more of this kind of sentiment going on, and I think people are starting to really, and it's, of course, it's exacerbated by the acceleration of technology. More than ever, we're stuck in these little windows that provide an endless stream of perspectives and ideas and anti-ideas and news and then anti-news and the whole thing. And I think that people are really, really confused right now. There's a lot of confusion. And I think that we don't think, and of course, I don't like to generalize for all people, but I think the general sense of the zeitgeist of our times is that there's this feeling like truth is just relative to the beholder. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. In that sense, there is no truth. And maybe in that sense, there ultimately isn't any right or wrong, except for what we might agree on is right and wrong. But there is no ultimate right or wrong or good or evil, or it's just all relative to the person or the people or the community or the tribe. And of course, what we're doing here in terms of breaking the trance is precisely based on that there is a unifying truth, but not truth like we were used to it, like facts, like, oh, there is a narrative that everybody has to subscribe to, but that more that there is a common science that infiltrates any possible worldview in the universe. Is there a common science, a source science to any narrative, any perspective, all perspectives, as widely variant as they are, and even wildly opposed and antithetical to one another? Can two absolute opposite ideologies be funded and made possible by a common science of reality making and sense making? And that's what I would say, is that's what we need to find if we're going to make it through this stage of human evolution, where in a way it's kind of like insanity on steroids, while we all pretend like it's not. It's kind of the way I would call it now, So anyways, that would just be my way of kicking off this conversation, but we just kind of want to let it hang out and really feel into this one. Is there truth? Is there anything beyond opinions?
Well said, Nath. I love the way you just scoped that out. And so, as you said, this is episode number 9 in the Sourcecast, from the source, not from the ordinary media space, but a deeper alleged media space. And I would like to kind of just stand back, because often, especially I'm guilty of this, of being concerned, even though we're trying to have a heart-to-heart between us, when no one's listening. Mm-hmm. My instinct as a teacher for almost 6 decades is that I'm aware of the other and I want to make her drawn in and not cut them out. I want to abandon that now. Episode number 9, this is between you and me, to have a off the record, heart to heart for real, because what you just suggest, and which is really sums up many of the themes of what we've done from 1 to 8. So I want to have a heart to heart and be irrespective of who's listening, even though we hope everyone on the planet, the whole human family, we're not Americentric. As you point out nicely, this is human centric for all people, because we're in the same Titanic, so to speak. The last episode, you beautifully opened it up with a metaphor of the Titanic, the cultural Titanic that is unsustainable and in danger. And we are an endangered species. And what you said is that we're living in the age of opinion. And we brought that out. That's what the trance is all about. It's a software, a malware that has held humanity in the most brilliant minds, and science is all still. If scientific method, what's great about scientific method, you're right. Okay, I'm going for it now, if you don't mind, okay?
Just go for it.
Scientific method, what's great is that it's going to be experimental, have an hypothesis explained. But if science is not checking into the deep ontology of rationality itself and asking, are we scientists embedded within the software that we're claiming that we are in science? As great as science is as a method of getting to truth, it turns out to be one narrative amongst others, competing with others. So what we indicate as the red space is to call out as never before in history. Really, what I really feel very passionate about, and I want to just rehearse what you just said, this is a dangerous zone, and we're still, for all our brilliance, in the science and technologies and so forth, we're still in the age of opinion. And what we're bringing, that's new. This is the point. This is new. We never had a deconflation of the code, the derivative codes of information space and language and reason and thinking and emotions and experience and culture that thinks about and represents. That's where we've been very good, very articulate. But the great first responders throughout the ages, and you said something beautifully a few days ago off the cuff. You said, when a drug goes on the market that's been tested over and over in experimental testing, right, before it's released, what we're saying is not just we're making this up. We're not just two guys making this up. It's been tested over and over for 25 plus 100 years by the greatest first responders responding to the call of being, of reality, whatever name. And if you have God names, whatever the God names are, what we've been suggesting is that because the codes were conflated, we couldn't say, oh, there's a deeper sauce. This is opinionism. This is living in the age of opinion. Why? Because we subscribe to the narrative. Our will. We could be a community of investigators, scientists, using our will in this rational space to subscribe to the latest paradigm of understanding nature and the depth of physics and chemistry, biology, and neurology, and all of the sciences. But it's still situated within the affirmation of our will. We subscribe to that narrative. That subscription is still immersed within the derivative code. Why is it derivative? And I want to point to here, because what we're suggesting, and this is like should be the greatest headlines of the ages right now. Finally, the codes are differentiated, long coming, hard sought for. The greatest scriptures and enlightenments and wisdom and first philosophers, men and women of the ages, have been trying to get that, but the code was holding us back, and now we've got, we tap the source. And we're daring to call it source science for the first time. And you beautifully said it's not another truth. What is the truth? It's a narrative that we subscribe to that depicts reality and represents it, and the way it makes sense, or what makes sense in one worldview, one narrative belief system, and its facts are different from another. And everyone's entitled to her opinion, right? But it's still an opinion. And one truth is not the other truth. So this is the age of opinion. So what you said, and I have the same feeling now. I only recently started to skim through some of the Instagram and things. I never went there. Mm-hmm. And in the crisis that we're going to say, I wonder if I could see, other than the cable news, what's going on in the minds of the people. And I'm skimming through, and whoa, what I'm seeing there, striking me new in the last month, is so many different presentations of what is true. Voices saying that, you think you buy the Bible is a way of controlling the mind. And what you call Yahweh or God or Allah, those are derivative names. There's a deeper God, and we've been tricked. And the Pope is just another, control mechanism out of the Templars, and all kinds of contradictions. At the same time, at this time of crisis, listen to Christ. Don't bug on Christ. The science is saying this is going on, and anti-science is saying others. So you have a wide range of competing, chaotic narratives, all saying, I'm the truth, but it's always opinion. Mm-hmm. So what is a poor person to do when you're in that under captivity without knowing it, unless you're breaking the trance and stepping into the deeper space? Now, why do we call that source science? Source. What is? Let's pause a moment now. I'd like I'm throwing this back to you. This is a cultural evolutionary Titanic, and it's not just overnight. It's been sinking for a long time. What are you thinking? We're sinking. And all the great teachers are saying we got to end the suffering. We've got to somehow upgrade ourselves, and leave the ignorance, come out of the cave, and come. But we never understood. Oh, that's a code shift to a whole new, deeper language of what is first, which is what's infinite. Now, pause here a moment. This is what we're saying was never seen before clearly. I dare to say, after 60 years of research as a first philosopher, living through these great narratives on what is first, and all the different scriptures and names of Allah, Yah, Brahman, Shunyata, all of these different attempts within this space, because they were conflated. Now we see the infinite is infinitely one, Unam. That's a game changer of them all. That's where truth comes in. And what is it? The light of reason. We're talking reason. And damn it, scientists, as rational inquirers and academic thinkers inquire into the rationality and critical thinking, if we haven't faced the code issue, we're still pre-critical. We're immersed within the age of opinion. So how dare you call this science? Right? All the great scientists say there's a ground and foundation of knowledge. It's within together logos, a light of reason. It's coherent. It's unum. It's infinitely one. It's infinite. There you go. And you can't divide the infinite. It's infinitely one. It's unum. You can't break it apart. And reality is an unum flow, an unum pluribus flow. Now we have truth finally.
Now, some would say as a comeback to that as well, there can be multiple infinites. And why is that not true?
Well, because the logic of the infinite, you can't mess with it. Descartes in his experiments, for example, but all the great theologians, right, who say God is one. You have to say that because the infinite cannot be divided. You can't have two infinites because the other one would delimit. You can't other it from the outside because then you would other it and delimit it, and there goes the infinite. Mm-hmm. So the logic, the science of the infinite demands infinite unum, and therefore the source of all. So when you say, is there something so deep, deeper than all of our scriptures and God names and scientific names and theories and paradigms and all of that, and narratives, beyond the age of opinion, We call it the end of the age of conflation, the conflation of the two technologies, this mindware and this software of the mind, malware. Right now we can see the difference. That's why and it cuts us off from a deeper access to the flow. And advanced theoretical physics, the unified field is united. It's woven together, but not in this sense. The double bracket, the unum here in this space is infinite unum, which means what? Nothing can break it. Nothing can pop it. You can't have a Lego piece. That's all we have here is silos, narratives and silos, Lego pieces, units. And that's how we have units that combined in AI. We call this AI. This is AI. This is a generic AI and cyber AI's subtext within the AI. And one of the great dangers that we're facing now, this is why we speak with such passion, is that finally we're crossing into the deep space of truth, and it's not another narrative. That's the point you made.
Mm-hmm.
Truth here is, the sun is shining. That's true. It's a fact, right? Snow is falling. Whatever, the apple is red. Those are facts, and those are true. If it pictures a fact, then it's true. But how about truth here? Well, you've got to break the barrier. And that's why when you hear in biblical space, truth shall set you free. What do you mean by that? Not another truth. It means coming into direct intimacy with being, with reality, with a rational light, with yourself. That's truth. When you're tapping your primary being by breaking out of the colonized space, you become free, and freedom is your truth, and you are the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Jesus would speak weird language allegedly. I'm not saying to buy it or not. I am the way, the truth, and the life. What's the way? The code shift from this to that.
Mm-hmm.
You say, I'm the truth. How can you be the truth? The person where if you're the logos, speaking this language, then the speaking and the spoken and the speaker and listen, they're all connected. Mm-hmm. So the wovenness of this space beyond the shredder, the silo maker, the opinion, the age of opinion. So for all of our brilliance as critical thinkers immersed within a pre-critical rational space, to see this, to break the trance, is the first liberation towards the freeing of human beings into power and agency and we the people. Mm-hmm. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, and so, what's to keep somebody from saying, okay, you guys, but this is just your way of seeing it. And that's great that you have your way of seeing it, but that's not for me. That kind of deflection that we've encountered many times over the years, which I personally think is you're just shooting yourself in the foot when you do that, because the whole point is this is creating an opening. Source science is not a talking about it science. It's performative in a way. It's opening up a doorway. It's breaking the trance.
That's right.
Breaking the trance. Trance is servitude. Trance is slavery, and breaking the trance is freedom. We're talking about true well-being, true happiness, true reality, being, like you said, being intimate with reality. It's not knowing about reality and having the whole narrative figured out, like the Lucy movie. Lucy reached a kind of enlightenment, is the way it was portrayed, when she attained all of the information that ever was. That's right. Though the accumulation, the totality of all information now equals enlightenment. That's
wrong.
That's knowledge.
Wrong.
That's what,
wrong.
And there's something that's really wrong about that.
It's not just wrong; it's incompetent. I hate to say that.
I just say, take the gloves off, man.
It's not competence. Enough already. How many great teachers just say, this is not right. This is suffering. This is broken. This is shredded. You're not yourself. You're not, this is unsane and pre-sane. Whatever metaphors, we're adjusted to this. But I would say to that person, if you say, okay, guys, this is just your opinion. I hear that. Why? Because there's only opinion. Right. I would say to that, I don't want to use strong language. I'm tempted to say, a jerk, an idiot. I'm getting angry, right? Show me how you've dealt with the code issue, dude. Show me how, scientist, show me how you've taken care of breaking the code barrier of this form of rationality and representational language to access the unum source science of the light of reason. Descartes touched it in his third and fifth meditation. He saw, this is where I'm staying. I and thou, in the light of reason. This is truth. Mm-hmm. And truth has to do with infinite goodness. For Christ's sake. So I would challenge anyone. I'm making a challenge now to everyone on the planet. Anyone, I know you're not alone right now, not. And that's why I'm speaking strongly. But I challenge every human being on the planet, wherever you are, show me how you got this. And listen to all of the teachers of all the centuries. Buddha is saying, face this. Yoga is saying, face this. Socrates said, leave the cave. Right? Jesus, unless you die, show me how these were all wrong. And show me, scientists, how you broke out of this talk about it language where you have your theory and your narrative and your alternative paradigm, and you can make paradigm shifts from genetic to epigenetic, for holism, for quantum thinking, for God particles. That's actually silly. God here is not divine. It's not the source. It's not infinite. Scientists and mathematicians and logicians should have the intelligence enough to know that the infinite cannot be, excluded. It's fully here too. That's why this is surrounding. What is the foundation of the light of being? This is being. It's reality. It's source of all narratives. You can't. The infinite word is the source of all possible narratives, arts and sciences, performances. Everyone. You're under the logos. Face it. It's terrifying to hear that. Oh, it sounds like one world government. That's one of the things I'm seeing, Oh,
and why is that? Why is it that we're so insistent on saying, well, first of all, we're so phobic of a narrative or a religion or ideology ruling over all the other ones? That makes sense to me. But why are we so insistent that oneness means the end of diversity and individuality and difference? Why are we having such a hard time going, wow, oneness? Like, why is the unum, the double bracket oneness, different than the oneness that people are hearing? And what does it take to get over the homogenizing version of oneness?
That's right. Yeah, unity. Here, because that is what this calculus is. A is A. Remember, what does this mean? The axiom is A is A, which just seems to be, that's trivial, isn't it? A thing, whatever you name it, is what it is. It's got its identity. I got mine. I got my ID, right? Everything has its ID. And it's I or not I. And there's unity and plurality. And unity is a oneness. Plurality is the opposite of the same principle. A is A means identity or difference. Identity and difference. And difference is self and other. I and it. And if you say United States of America, we want to find unity here, then unity competes with the flip side, which is diversity and plurality and multiplicity. If unity wins, which unity? Is it a Christian country? Is it, what is the unifying force of the diversity? Here. So there's a tension in the binary logic. The A is a binary, it's one or the other. Is there identity or difference? Is it unity? If it's identity or sameness or difference, those are polar. But what you pointed out last time, it's the same boat. It's the same boat. The same code is the same boat. And all of these competing opposite narratives, theism, atheism, we brought that out last time. I don't want to go over that again.
Yeah. Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative,
Exactly. People are terrified of this, and the teachers have always known it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you have to let go of your own unit, your own Lego piece, your Lego ID. Lego meaning you're a separate entity. You got your ID, you're a unit.
You're a Lego sapien, yeah.
You're a Lego sapien, not a Logos sapien. And this is terrifying. This crossing is terrifying. Why? Because you've got to somehow stand back. If you stand back from this and break that trance, your whole worldview, your sense of reality, your culture, all that you're familiar with, all of your phenomena, even your multiple worlds as a religious person and a scientific person, and one person can have multiple different narratives that she subscribes to. All that has to step back.
That's like death. That's like a dying.
That's a death. And the teachers have known that. But it's actually the beginning of life.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's why the terror of unum is that you think you're going to lose, but you're going to become more. When you cross into this space, a PowerPoint, wow, all points meet there. If you could say I am, not just I as a Lego, but dare to step into, when you step out of the barrier, you're stepping into the flow of all being. You're in the zone. Athletes use a metaphor of a peak performance in the zone.
I like to use the analogy sometimes of, so much of our culture revolves around technology and AI right now and all of that. But I mean, if you think about it, I think I used this a few episodes back. It's like if you're, we have these games, these video games where you have what they call, funny enough, they call it an avatar, which is not you. It's like a representation of you. And when you're playing the video game or controlling it, you're in a way you're like invested into this objectified version of yourself. And any of you who've been familiar with that world, you can get kind of sucked in. You can almost become identified with this artificial creation. Well, think of that as a beautiful metaphor, analogy to what's actually going on, that self that we create just by interfacing with our culture and with the people around us and our families and religion and science and pop culture and money and all the things that are just constantly at us, where we don't realize whatever the content of our lives is, whatever we believe, whatever we identify with, it's all using the same technology, which is this A is A, artificial, the original AI.
That's it. No, that's it.
Which
This is AI. Yeah.
we're creating a self, we're creating a life self that is actually a synthetic version of us, and we become identified with it, just like we're in a video game. We've got the VR goggles on and we forgot that we're in that. It's like the equivalent of taking that off and going, oh my God, that's like the movement to that upper, from the I object, me, to I am. And that transition is like a death, transitionally. And what I've noticed so much is that, that was more of a conceptual idea, die before you die in some of these different ways. Unless you die, you can't be born again. But then over the years, I realized, wow, in my own personal lived experience, I've come to face with those moments and realized, wow, that's not just talk. It really is. Yeah. It really is scary. It really is jarring. It's really unnerving in a lot of ways as a transition, but it's a necessary initiation for every human being to become truly empowered and truly who they are and truly happy and truly functional and truly sane. And yet this addiction to the artificial self, there's a kind of power trip in it. Each individual is responsible for this. You can be a good person, bad person. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying well and unwell, right? And you can be a really good person and doing your best, but you can also, I think one of the hardest things for humans to feel is that we're actually participating in this sort of power trip on reality.
It's consensual. It's consensual.
Yes, yeah, we're not just victims to narratives. We're narrating in a way that is afraid to step back from that, because that's what we've learned to become safe with. And when you're in like a psychedelic journey, which I've experienced a lot through the course of my life, one of the main things that happens is that ability kind of starts to slip away, which is why, psychedelic journeys can be very, very scary and unnerving and even difficult or painful or uncomfortable, because it's almost forcing you, and I'm not saying psychedelics are the answer, I'm just saying it's one way to explain this phenomenon where one thing I've observed in myself is this almost like your constant need to go, that's what that is, that's what that is, that's what that is, this is what's happening. We're labeling power trippers. We power trip on everything. We like to see somebody, we don't know anything about their walk of life, and boom, I know who that person is. I know that we're doing that. Imagine that rapid fire all day long and all night long, whether you're dreaming or waking, we're in this.
All lifelong, yeah.
All lifelong, and that's an addiction, and it's a power trip. And to let that go and realize it's not just opinion. We're not just in a space of opinion. That's us. That's basically us absolutizing what is actually a disease.
That's right.
Everybody's participating.
Well said. And that's a control trip. That hits the nerve. Why is it so scary to dare to step back from that CV or multiple CVs that you've been living in, which is the narratives that you're subscribed to and identified with? That is you. It's of identity, right? To step back from that is to dare to almost die to those narratives. But that's when you open up to a deeper freedom of a zone. And ironically, Nathan, when you step into this space, that's when your true uniqueness in the universe. There's no other you. Every person is unique because it's infinitely deep. You've broken the barrier of a narrow version of yourself, and you've freed yourself, right? In the unum, and the unum is not separate from the pluribus. The infinite diversity is held together in an infinite unum, and that's that's a human space. That's the space of free beings, all humans. That's the place, the political space. And in the USA example, we ask to all Americans now in crisis, is USA here or is it here? Is it an objectified space for competing multiple narratives and ideologies in a multicultural society? What does that mean? Multi-narratives. Each having its own truth and its free speech and its rights.
And yes,
that's,
rights.
That's right.
Right.
But there's no unum, and that's why the mantra of America in that lab, e pluribus unum, out of the diversity, unity. Not here. Unity is divisive.
Yeah, there you go.
God
There's the same
here,
boat axiom there.
Yeah, God here is divisive. Logos is unitive. The source, infinite. Unum is unitive. And so you can't find a more perfect unity here. Unity is broken. Unity divides.
You can't find diversity there either.
That's the point.
Safe diversity, not true diversity.
That's right. That's right. Well said. Real diversity is here. Real unity, real community, real inclusion, all that stuff. It's in the deep space of I and thou, the dialogue of interconnectivity of ethics. This is ethics. This is rational critical thinking. This is source science. And it's not just another narrative. It's not an ideology. It's not a paradigm. It's the infinite source of the light of reason. And when you enter into that, you surf it. You're in one with it. You're woven in. That's the truth. You become the truth.
Yeah. And they talk about tolerance, you know, the word came up the other day, tolerance. Tolerance is like almost like a high ideal, but in a way that's like saying, no, we're going to still be Lego separate, averse to each other, but I'm going to tolerate you. You know, that's not unity. That's not the space of we the people.
Right.
You know, and so and then in the United States and I think around the globe, there's this battle between diversity and anti-diversity. You know, diversity is all the steps that we've been taking to make it more inclusive for everybody and all the differences in the ways that we are, which is a good move. But now what's happening? Now there's an anti-diversity movement. And that's the example of what we're talking about, that same boat.
That's
it keeps on, you know, instead of diversity, anti-diversity, anti-diversity, anti. And we're not rising. We can't have this land is my land, this land is your land. We can't have freedom and justice for all. We can't have we the people. All of these things that if we stay in the single bracket virtual reality space where we're all power tripping and everything's just opinions, then it can only end in what we've seen over and over again. One narrative tries to take over, and there's wars and battles and breakdowns and all of that we're seeing. It's all symptomatic of the fact that we're still buying into this Lego sapien stage of our minds and reason. And it's time to grow up now. And we're not starting, like you said earlier, we're not starting this from scratch. This has been you know,
centuries of confirmation by the greatest minds and scriptures of the ages. This is not new. This is now finally we can see it by deconflating the two languages, the two stages of evolutionary literacy between this great good as it is, informationized space, but going to become well informed. You become the form. You're flowing in the zone, the zone length, right? And this is what all our great scriptures are calling us. Move into this, human up, become a full person. This is a logos kid, a logos sapien. This is a Lego, separate unit, and it doesn't work. And now that what you just said, when we call this AI, and to see that cyber AI is within the AI, it's a derivative of the generic AI. And one of the dangers, if this is all we know, if this space is all we know, we humans, we are profoundly in danger and vulnerability of being AI sapiens. We are cyber sapiens. And so we can have machines to start threatening our human genome to implant, and then we become robotic, right? Because in a way we're already in AI, in an artificial form of making and synthesizing meaning and language and narratives and worlds and worldviews and belief systems.
And ourselves and our lives and
by our wills, our collective truth by numbers. If you have a lot of people with you and you conspire with your homies to buy a story. Oh, it's got weight now because we got numbers.
Yep.
No,
truth by numbers. Yeah.
That's not truth. That's not going to free you. So right now, the human being, by being a Lego sapien, a cyber sapien can be taken over by the machines because we're too ignorant to know that we're not. Here we're not. I want to throw out something, right? People say that if you get a really supercomputer with quantum computing and all of that, right? And then that'll show you, that almost becomes God. We can create God. That's such ignorant nonsense. For anyone who knows the history of first philosophy and the science of the inquiry into the infinite source, is that you can't make a machine to become infinite presence. If God, the true God, the global God is not local, God is global. God is the infinite. Any God name, truly, if it's Allah, infinite, it's the source of all. Yahweh, source of all. Brahman, source of all. Logos, source of all. Sophia, whatever name you use, if it's the infinite, it's the source of all. That means everyone is under the Logos jurisdiction. This is scary. And it's beyond world government. It's not one world government. On the contrary, it becomes so profound that when we become the awakened, intelligent, critical human beings, mature human beings, do we need government to protect that? Or can we be free range in a way? It's not one going to, it's the end of these derivative institutions that govern us. And the USA says we form governments to protect this, the human, the person, the free being, life, liberty, well-being. So don't be afraid of one world government or one religion. No, this is way beyond this. Everyone, I'm saying that everyone across the planet, the whole human family, damn it, face it. We're all under the universal jurisdiction of the infinite source. Show me that you're not. Show me that you're out here. Show me that you can step out of the infinite source. I dare anyone to show that. And I call on all of our scientists who can have a certain failure of humility, which is allegedly one of the virtues of a scientist, to be humble in terms of checking out the hypothesis.
Revising,
Revise your stuff, but revise your mind, people. I want scientists to answer me, to answer us and say, no, you guys are wrong. We already took care of the code and the software. We got that. We've already got the infinite sourceware. And we're getting the God particle, which is a silly thing to say because a particle is a unit that's separate. And even if you have strings in your string theory, don't string us along, okay? I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because as always, we're just coming up on the wrap-up point here, but I wanted to kind of tie it together a little bit. Obviously, this is going to be an ongoing theme, but just that point about, in a way, opinionism is the one religion that unites all of us.
Oh,
isn't that funny?
Well,
the idea that nobody has the truth.
No, you just said it. We already under one world religion.
There you go.
One code. You got it. That's right. What are you bitching about? You're already living in one code-ism.
Yeah.
Show me that you're not, folks. Answer this challenge of the ages. Continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I mean, I said what I wanted to say, but it's so easy to take. I mean, just because of the habitualness of it, we want to just put everything back down to that little space. But the diagram there, the hologram as you call it, is almost like it almost trips that up. No matter what you try to do, you can't put the infinite in the box. You can't make a God particle. You can't finitize the infinite, and that's almost like, and I know it sounds very lofty when we're talking like this, but imagine that everybody, consciously or unconsciously, and most are unconscious of this, that's exactly what all of us are doing all the time. We're constantly objectifying reality, and then in that space, opinion rules. And then if opinion rules, well, then which opinion is going to rule over which opinions, and where we are now. So,
it's post-truth. This is post-truth.
Yes, exactly. And so it's funny to just kind of realize, wow, to say that there is no truth, you're borrowing from truth to say that, so we're pulling a fast one. And so instead of, I would just invite people, you've invited people to show how they're outside of the infinite. I would invite people to really just, instead of having a knee-jerk or mind-jerk reaction to what we're saying, as though it's like a narrative that we're trying to impose on you, think of it much more as an invitation to something that, oh my God, thank God, there is a space of unity that does not erase my uniqueness, but rather allows it to be more than ever. And then for all of us to rise to that place, what we're saying in a way, it has been, we've been knocking on that door for a long time. And a lot of our great teachers have been in different ways. But what happens is they all just kept on getting siloed and put into there's Buddhism over here and Hinduism over here and Christianity over here and science over here and feminism over here. We just keep on downloading it into these finite things. Imagine a place where the wide-ranging diversity of nature and people and everything can thrive and coexist in true love and true flow in a way where we find oneness that doesn't mean we're all the same. It doesn't.
On the contrary, that's right.
Yes. That's what I meant by homogenizing. This is not a homogenizing narrative here. This is the opposite.
And that's why the unum is pluribus. People, to me, in my journey in art, when I began to see, because you tend to think unity is before diversity. Unity is primary and diversity is, and then I began to say, whoa, that's a big mistake. That's a big error. Unum is infinite diversity. And that's the whole point. That's the breakthrough from this code into this code. It's unum pluribus, it's one word. Pluribus is infinite diversity because that's the logic of the infinite, is to be infinitely all-encompassing and an infinite diversity, infinite points in the sacred geometry of that space, and yet always connected because it's infinite unum. That's it.
You want some proof? Look at people, look at nature, look outside, look at how much difference there is, how many different plants, animals, colors, and then go out into the cosmos. Look at the obvious one of the defining characteristics of reality is difference, diversity, and I mean, so I'm saying that because this is not us just pulling this out of thin air. Look around you. The whole thing is one, and yet it is it's infinitely variant and changing and evolving. Obviously it is.
Right. And what we're saying, and I love the way you said it, this has been stress tested for millennia by our great teachers if we are not downloading it into the derivative space, but can dare to step back and listen to the word of source. Wow. So what this hologram is an evolutionary emergence out of the collective wisdom and enlightenment and scriptures of great first teachers, men and women of the ages are all under this same unifying force. And it doesn't take away your diversity and uniqueness, right? And separateness, but individuality is deeper than you thought. This is a whip. This is badass. This is dare to be an individual. Step into that uniqueness, right? That's beyond all of these labels and names and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And our well-being as a human family is at risk because we're not cyber sapiens. We're logos kids. And no machine can ever duplicate or replicate or make the infinite.
Or person, or make a person.
Or person, that's right. A person, because the person is intimate with the source. We're present sacred. This is presence, not stuff. It's infinite presence. Infinite presence, energy. And we are of that. And that's science. And I want to challenge any viewers that might see this, or any scientist, to try and debunk this. Show that all of the wisdom of the teachers and that you got this. Show me that you got this. I dare you. You're not going to have it. We're not cyber entities. We're persons. I'd say the opening of 1776 is, in the course of events, whatever binds us one to the other, if it violates our independence of this, our dignity and freedom, we must separate. The opening clause is one of separation from what? Not the British or the monarchy, but from this version of the humans, of the self, to become a people. We the people. Enter this political space. So anyway, we've gone on too long now, but yeah. I'm sorry I was so passionate.
I'm not sorry that you're so passionate.
I'm mad. I'm mad.
Enough is enough already, no?
Of all our first teachers, when we say we're 1 through 8, we're on the Titanic, we don't just go and have a tea party. We have to really have the passion, And the rage, actually, the fury. I do feel furious now about the hell of our code, you know, and the unwillingness to step back and listen to our teachers who say, do an experiment, people. Have you entered into the infinite flow and experienced the infinite unum pluribus? Have you experienced yourself? That's what we're inviting people to do. Know thyself.
Freedom.
And know the other. This is the love space. This is the objectification space. And this is all our pathologies are coming out of this space. We've got to get this. Anyway, I think we should call it quits on this time.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. If you stuck with us, I'm proud of you. And we're gonna keep going.
We probably scared everyone away. We
Yeah.
probably scared everyone away with this one.
Yeah.
I'm letting my rage out now. I really feel furious right now about the continued sleeping on the job. You know?
Yeah. I call it willful ignorance, or like arrogant ignorance. It's like I'm going to be ignorant. No, I don't want to. It's like a willful power
It's a
trip.
consensual ignorance to stay really long.
It takes real humbleness to step back from it and to give up on the power trip and enter into the zone.
It's time to break the code and break the trance here.
Yeah.
And we're challenging every human being on the planet to face this and answer us. Write to us and tell us we're completely wrong and off of it, and all the great teachers are just full of it. And you got this already. Show us you got this already. I'll listen.
Yeah, right. Okay, guys. We always love to hear your thoughts. Comment below, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Come back again and see us.
We are the people who were promised for this promised land. Everybody worldwide. We are the promised people. We are the people, yes, so welcome to the promised land.